The latest Premier League season is officially over. You know what that means. Transfer news is coming in from all directions, and you won't believe some of the names being thrown around. Every league club has got big plans for their summer, so here's a roundup of everyone's transfer priorities. Trust us, after this offseason, the Premier League will be bigger than ever. First up is Arsenal. The Gunners scored just 61 goals all last season, and that's pretty low for a team with Champions League aspirations. The departures of Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Nketiah definitely aren't helping matters. That means Mikel Arteta's squad needs a striker real bad if Arsenal wants a top 4 finish next season, and they've got their eyes on Everton's Dominic Calvert-Lewin to fill in that gap. The player should be a pretty easy get too, since Arteta's got more than enough funds to make the transfer happen. Next, we have Manchester City. City are looking stronger than ever thanks to the signings of Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez. They could use a touch more backup in midfield though, since Fernandinho just left the club. For that, Pep Guardiola is said to be targeting Calvin Phillips and Frankie de Jong. Another position that needs straightening is the left back position, so City have their eyes on Brighton's Marc Cucurella and Hoffenheim's David Raum as potential targets. We'll just have to see if they get both their targets or not. Now for Manchester United. United has the longest to-do list when it comes to transfer this summer, but the positions they need to fill most urgently are in midfield. You can thank the exits of Pogba and Matic for that. Frankie de Jong, Yuri Tillemans, and Amadou Haidara are all rumored to be on the cards, though the £100 million price tag for West Ham's Declan Rice is said to be too heavy for the Red Devils to handle. That's too bad, because this is one team with a ton of holes in its squad. Moving on now to Liverpool. Liverpool had one major target for this window, and that was finding a striker to replace Sadio Mane and Divock Origi. They brought in the 22-year-old Uruguayan Darwin Nunez to do just that, and midfielder Fabio Carvalho has been signed to beef up the center. The only thing Liverpool has left to do is renew Salah and Firmino's contracts, which will be pretty crucial for their title challenge next season. Let's see what happens. Up next is Chelsea. Rudiger and Christensen are leaving the Blues, and Azpilicueta might be on his way out too. That means Chelsea needs a center back to fill in their backline, and Thomas Tuchel has had Sevilla's Jules Koundé in mind for a while at this point. Chelsea has also got players like Kalidou Koulibaly, Milan Skriniar, Josko Gvardiol in their sights for the position, but it's not clear yet which names they'll go with. They definitely need a defender though, so the pressure is on. And now for Everton. Everton have one of the leakiest defensive lines in the league, and they really need a center back to secure it. They've got Nottingham Forest's Joe Worrell, Burnley's James Tarkowski, and AC Milan's Alessio Romagnoli on their radar, but they might need to offload some poor performers to make their transfer dreams come true. Frank Lampard's men have a long way to go to make that happen. Next, we have Tottenham. Antonio Conte's got £150 million to burn, and he's going all out bolstering his backline. The Tottenham backline needed some additions, and the club has got Ivan Perisic signed already. What's more, Stefan de Vrij, Alessandro Bastoni, and Milan Skriniar have all been linked to the club. Conte also wants winger Jed Spence in his squad, and he might very well get him. Next season's looking pretty promising for Tottenham. Continuing on to Aston Villa. Villa were pretty active in the January transfer window, but Steven Gerrard's still looking for a solid center back to keep his squad airtight. That's why he's pursuing James Tarkowski and Calvin Bassey for his side. And we're sure both players would add a lot to the team. Up next, we have Brentford. The Bees will need a strong right back if they want to stay where they are on the table. Sergio Canos isn't going to cut it. Gremio's Vanderson is reportedly their primary target, while Nathaniel Klein is another option that Brentford are reported to be interested in. And now for Brighton and Hove Albion. The Seagulls need a striker to build off of last year's top 10 finish, and they've apparently got their eyes on Eddie Nketiah. The former Arsenal man is looking for a new club to join, and he'd definitely be able to help Brighton improve last season's dismal 42-goal tally. Next is Fulham. Fulham got a rotten welcome back to the Premier League after losing Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool. The squad needs a forward, but their negotiations for Shakhtar Donetsk's Manor Solomon seem to have failed. Jesse Lingard could be their next target. The newly promoted side could definitely use someone with that much experience. And now for Leeds. After escaping relegation on the last day, Leeds will need some strengthening in midfield. They've already signed Brendan Aronson from RB Salzburg and are now eyeing Ross Barkley and Caligari's Nahitan Nandez. Both players have been linked, so we can expect good news. Moving on now to Leicester. The Foxes are reportedly targeting a new center back, and they definitely need one. They are also in the running to sign James Tarkowski, but fans are also expecting a replacement for midfielder Youri Tielemans, who just left the club. It looks like the former champions might need a shakeup. Next, we have Newcastle. Chris Wood failed to live up to expectations when he was signed from Burnley, which means the Magpies now need to go after another striker. Everton's Dominic Calvert-Lewin is reportedly their #1 target, and we all know the team's new owners can afford it. Up now is Nottingham Forest. Before making any new transfers, Nottingham Forest will need to tie down all their loan players for permanent contracts. That includes on loans like James Gardner, Philip Zinkernagel, and Jed Spence. Besides that, they're said to be targeting Newcastle's Dwight Gale as a striker, which is definitely a position they need to fill for the next season. Next, we have Bournemouth. The Cherries are back in the Premier League, but they're short a center back. The club is apparently targeting City's Ko Itakura and Liverpool's Nathaniel Phillips to replace the departing Gary Cahill. Still, we'll have to wait and see if they can negotiate terms with such big teams. Continuing on to Crystal Palace. Palace need a midfielder to make up for the loss of Conor Gallagher, their player of the season. They've got Lens's Cheikh Doucouré and Huddersfield's Lewis O'Brien marked as possible buys, but they have to scrabble for both, since there's a lot of buzz around these two. Now we have Southampton. The Saints are in need of a pretty substantial overhaul. That said, the priority should definitely be a striker after last season's 43-goal tally. Ben Brereton Diaz, Liam Delap, and Mohamed Ali Cho are the names rumored to be on the wish list, and Southampton will need to call in at least one of them. Next is West Ham. West Ham need a new striker after Antonio's dismal last season, and they're apparently considering forwards like Keane Lewis Potter, Emmanuel Dennis, and Moise Keane. The Hammers are the league's oldest squad, so these fresh faces will definitely liven up their play. And finally, we have the Wolves. Wolverhampton is going through some midfield woes since both Moutinho and Neves are set to leave. Gio Palina from Sporting is reported to be on the cards, but he's going to be costly. The club's on the hunt for playmakers to bring the goals, and hopefully they'll have a few by the end of the summer. Next, in other news, Real Madrid signed Aurelien Tchouameni from AS Monaco. It looks like Los Blancos are getting ready for the future because the Champions League winners just signed Aurelien Tchouameni from French side AS Monaco. Real apparently paid around $83.9 million for a 6-year deal. The club had to fight off some stiff competition for the 22-year-old, since both Liverpool and PSG were showing interest in the youngster. He'll be joining Federico Valverde and Eduardo Camavinga in midfield, and is expected to serve as successor to the 30-year-old Casemiro. And now, Mauricio Pochettino expected to be sacked from PSG job. After 18 months in charge, it looks like Mauricio Pochettino has reached the end of his tenure as the head coach of PSG. Reports suggest that Pochettino met with the club's hierarchy a week ago to discuss the next campaign, and both parties came to the understanding that it was time to part ways. That means PSG will have to look for another manager, and Nice's Christophe Galtier is reportedly an option. It's definitely going to be a busy summer for the French Giants, who recently hired Luis Campos as their new sporting director. Let's hope all these changes are for the best. Finally, England fans turn against Gareth Southgate after a humiliating loss. England just suffered a humiliating 4-0 loss to Hungary, and it's got the fans mad. It's definitely Gareth Southgate's worst performance in his 6 years as England's coach, and what made it especially sad was that it was on home soil. Things got so bad, the fans attending started chanting, "You don't know what you're doing," at Southgate. Now, it might not be that dire, since the players could very well be recovering from a tiring season of football. They've got some incredibly hectic schedules to deal with after all. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.